The film begins in 2005. Two junior high school students are seen attending a Catholic school. They were Spencer and Alex. At school, Spencer ran for student council president. However, on the day of the announcement of the election, he was not elected. He was a little upset and annoyed. Then, he told his best friend, Alex. Spencer said he was often bullied when trying to get along with other kids. As a best friend, Alex understood Spencer and kept him going. At that time, one of the teachers sees Alex and Spencer who are still hanging around the school hallway, when class has started. The teacher scolds and asks them to come to class. However, they refuse. Therefore, the teacher asks them to show the student permit. However, Spencer acts rudely to the teacher. Feeling disrespected by Alex and Spencer, the teacher tells them to go to the principal's office. The next day, Alex and Spencer's parents are called to school because of their son's behavior. The teacher explains that Spencer is left behind in reading skills, while Alex is daydreaming more than paying attention to what was going on. Therefore, the teacher suggests that Alex and Spencer do medical therapy. However, Spencer's mother, feeling that her son is fine, refuses firmly and left. The next day, while Alex and Spencer are attending sport class, they see a boy who was punished with them in the principal's office. He is Anthony. At that time, Anthony is playing basketball alone. Alex and Spencer come over. They want to get to know each other. However, while chatting, suddenly a basketball landed on Anthony's head. He suddenly gets angry and said rudely to the boy who threw the ball. Because Anthony said something rude, the teacher immediately rebukes and tells him not to say that in a Catholic school. But Anthony, who is annoyed, made fun of the teacher. Finally, Anthony is asked to go to the principal's office. Alex and Spencer, who are laughing at the teacher, are also ordered to leave the class. Alex, Spencer, and Anthony appear to be close friends after the incident. On the way home from school, Anthony comes to Spencer's house to play. Spencer shows a very complete toy gun and invites Anthony to play war game with Alex. At night, Spencer's mother gets a call from her neighbor. The neighbor said that her house has been decorated with toilet paper by Spencer and Anthony. Hearing this, Spencer's mother immediately goes to Spencer's room and said that she is disappointed with his behavior. He always makes trouble at school and home. But Spencer only apologizes to his mother.
Every time I do, I just leave disappointed.
And after that, he prays to God to find peace within him. During a history class, Spencer and Alex, who loves the military, ask about another war plan after the World War II. Then, the teacher gives them a printout. After school, the three of them plays war in the forest. Anthony says that he wants to move to another school, because their school has very strict rules. Alex and Spencer say that they will always miss Anthony wherever he is. They promise each other to always send letters. After that, Anthony leaves Alex and Spencer. The next day, Alex and Spencer's parents are called back to school. The principal suggests Alex to stay with his father. For your information, Alex's mother is a single parent. Unable to accept this, Alex's mother scolds the principal because he has interfered in her personal affairs. Spencer is even more sad when he learns that Alex will be sent to another school and live with his father. Sadly, Spencer runs to say goodbye to Alex. At night, a depressed Spencer is visited by his mother. His mother cheers him up and says that he can always visit Alex anytime. A few years later, Alex is all grown up. He is attending college classes. At that time, he is asked by the lecturer what job he likes. Later, Alex replies that he has always been interested in joining the military. Elsewhere, Spencer is also growing up. At that time, he is working at a cafe called Jamba Juice. Apparently, in front of the cafe, there is a United States military registration. Then, a soldier came to the cafe to buy drinks. While making the drinks ordered, Spencer asks the Army Division. Then, the soldier says that he is in the Naval Division. Spencer gives the drink for free to the soldier, because he thinks that the soldier had done a great job by saving many lives. Long story short, Spencer is with Anthony. They watch a football game. Spencer says he has messaged Alex about his desire to take the Air Force pararescue trial. Hearing this, Anthony is not sure because Spencer's physical condition is not qualified in the military. In addition, according to him, Spencer also does not have a strong intention. Spencer, who has a strong mentality, is determined to prove to Anthony that he will definitely be able to enter the military. After days of physical training, Spencer finally can prove that he passed with the highest score in the physical exam. Then, he continues the medical test. And finally, he waits for the placement results. But after his name is called, he does not find the position he wanted, in the pararescue. The soldier says that Spencer isn't qualified for the pararescue field because his score in depth of perception is not enough. He protests with his high physical score, but this cannot be a reference. The soldier says, if he can't have depth perception, then he can't join pararescue. At home, Spencer is very disappointed. Then, his mother calms him down and suggests him to appeal. However, Spencer rejects this idea. He feels everything he had done so far is in vain, because he fails the depth perception test. Then, the scene moves where Spencer is currently with Anthony at a hotel. Spencer tells of his service, that he will be doing basic military training in Texas. He also recounts that he fails in joining pararescue team because he had failed the depth perception test. He is stationed in Cine, but he wanted to be in the fighting force and wanted to save the lives of many people. Later, Anthony encourages him by saying that wherever he is placed, he always helps the lives of many people. Shortly, Spencer arrives in Texas for basic military training. At lunchtime, he is still busy with his sewing. After eating, Spencer falls asleep in a room and he is late for rehearsal. He wakes up and runs towards the Cine room. And sure enough, he is late. All the Air Force soldiers are already there. Then, he is put to a push-up by his sergeant. The sergeant checks Spencer's sewing assignment. However, because the seams are not too tight and not neat, Spencer is asked to ask for a letter of elimination. Elsewhere, we see Alek being driven by his mother to the airport. Apparently, he has now become an American soldier and assigned to Afghanistan. Back to Spencer. He and other soldiers are taken to a United States Air Force base. They are educated about biology in the military. Spencer is tested by his teacher while rescuing war victims. The teacher asks, what to do if the victim is injured in the neck. Spencer doesn't know what to say. Then, the teacher says that in that situation, they can only surrender and pray to God.
And you hope something creative occurs to you.
Then, Spencer is trained in jiu-jitsu so he can immobilize the opponent by locking in the neck. During the break time, Spencer calls Alek to take him on vacation to Europe. Alek also agrees to Spencer's invitation, but he has to stop first in Germany to meet his girlfriend. Spencer also invites Anthony to join the vacation. Shortly, they arrive at a hotel in Italy. Spencer and Anthony enjoy their tour while waiting for Alek to arrive. On a tour boat, they meet a girl named Lisa. After meeting Lisa, they finally meet Alek and invite him to a party at a bar. In the morning, the boys are exhausted because they had drunk too much alcohol. They get up to go find breakfast. While having breakfast, they discuss which country to visit next. Then, they agree to visit Paris as their next destination. Then, they board the train bound for France. When they are about to enter, there is an old man with his son who asks for their help to load his goods into the carriage. Finally, Alek leads the old man to sit on his chair. Then, they sit on the chairs they had ordered. The train headed for Paris. And, this is where their heroic story takes place. While on the train, Spencer is bored and wants to find Wi-Fi in Coach 1. So, they decide to move to Coach 1 to use the Wi-Fi network. Then, their train stops at the next station. That's when the terrorist gets into the train to carry out his cruel act. A man is suspicious because the terrorist has been in the toilet for more than 30 minutes. Then, he approaches and knocks on the toilet door. After the terrorist opens the door, he has removed his shirt and is holding an AK-47 gun. Sprightly, the man managed to secure the weapon held by the terrorist. However, the terrorist has a gun and starts shooting the man. Unfortunately, the terrorist can retrieve his weapon back. Hearing the gunshots, Spencer awake. The situation becomes increasingly tense. The people in the train starts to panic. However, Spencer bravely fights the terrorist with his hands. The terrorist shoots Spencer. But luckily, the gun's bullet isn't working. Spencer is grateful that he is still protected by God. He and the terrorist then get involved in a fight. Not long after, Alek and Anthony arrive to help Spencer fight the terrorist. But when Spencer is about to lock him down, it turns out that the terrorist pulls a knife from his pants. It makes Spencer getting cuts to the back of his head and his fingers. Injured, Spencer releases his lock. Then, together, they beat the terrorist and ends with Spencer who finally can lock the terrorist in his neck. After successfully defeating the terrorists, Spencer rescues the man who got shot. Spencer takes off his shirt to stop the blood out of the man's neck. Because unable to hold it in with his shirt, he finally uses his finger to stop the blood. Finally, the terrorist is tied with a tie. Alek also checks and secures the terrorist's bag. Inside the bag, there are a lot of ammunition to shoot the people on the train. The train keep going and finally, they stop at the next station. The police and other rescue teams are waiting for the train to arrive. The police immediately get into the train to catch the terrorist. Paramedics also save the injured people. Fortunately, they can all be saved. Thanks to the courage of Spencer and his friends, they can save the lives of more than 500 people who are on the train. Later, the three of them receive an award from the French president for their bravery. After returning to America, they are warmly welcomed. Spencer and Alek receive high honors from the military. Anthony also receives an award from the United States Secretary of Defense. Then the movie ends.